Looks like a bunch of new requests got added. And some of these are doozies. Wanna give them a try?
I'm counting on you.
Yeah. All right.
Come to view the requests?
Our adventure began with a strange light falling over my home island of Zinkenstill. I chased it to the impact site, where I found a blue-haired girl named Lyria and a knight, Catalina. The girl was shaken, and pretty soon I learned the reason why. She was on the run from Erste Empire soldiers. I knew an unfair fight when I saw one, so I stepped up to protect Lyria from those awful tyrants. Catalina and I fended them off well enough, but when their backs were in the corner, they released a fire-breathing hydra. It charged me, sending me flying into the tree line. Moments away from death, all I could think about was Dad. He'd been the one who trained me, and he'd done a great job, but... well, who expects their son to get attacked by a five-headed horror? Was going to be devastated. So, it's all over. Just as I began to sink into darkness, a gentle light enveloped my body. Lyria, wreathed by a mystical halo, was floating above me with her hand outstretched. She explained that she was going to merge our life forces. Fortunately, it worked. From that moment forward, Lyria and I would be inextricably linked. Looking into her blue eyes, I knew I had nothing to fear, not even death itself. Two people, one life, a greater whole. Lyria had taken a huge risk to save me. Now, if one of us got hit with a fatal blow, it was curtains for both. And that thought awakened in me a desperate hunger for survival. For life. The next moment, Lyria and I felt this reverberation of power. The torrent of emotion rushing from me had awakened something. Darkness and flame swirled around us, coalescing into a massive dragon, Bahamut. With him on our side, we made short work of the Imperial Hydra. Now that their trump card had been blasted into oblivion, the Imperial Army had no choice but to run. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't chased that light. No Lyria, no lifelink, no adventure. Man, I probably wouldn't even have set foot off of Zinkenstill. Fate's a funny thing, isn't it? Since meeting Lyria, we've seen our fair share of joy and happiness, and pain and suffering. But the Grand Cypher crew doesn't buckle under pressure. We'll take on anything the journey throws at us. No regrets. Now, where was I? Oh, right. We just humiliated the Empire, who probably had reserves waiting somewhere close by. We realized we needed to get off Zinkenstill. Fast. The Empire was not going to rest while Lyria was on the loose, and I figured that since we shared a life force now and all, it was in everyone's best interests if we stayed together. Plus, I'd always wanted to explore the far reaches of the skies, though doing it on the run, not what I had in mind. There was so much to think about, so much to decide. But all those plans could come after we had escaped Zinkenstill. I didn't want a whole army, this time with, 30 Hydras marching on my home island. And, well, I had another, more personal reason for wanting to leave. Before I knew it, our journey was at an end. The end. as in we'd reached the end of the skies. My son, I'm waiting for you on Estalucia. I thought about Dad's letter. I missed him. When I was young, he would take me to the edge of the island, and we'd sit there, admiring the clouds. I wanted so badly to explore those skies, just like Dad. I had to see him again. And now, I wouldn't have to make that journey alone. With Vern, Lyria, and Catalina at my side, we commandeered a small Imperial craft and set out for the greatest of destinations, Estalucia. From the moment we left Zinkenstill, our adventures were hectic, to say the least. Catalina, who claimed to be an experienced pilot, crashed our small vessel onto the gusty fields of Port Breeze. But we quickly pulled ourselves together and found a new ally, and helmsman, in the form of Rackham. Since then, we gained more and more allies, and no matter what obstacle we faced, the crew always worked in tandem to find a solution. It's all thanks to their support that I've made it this far. And what a wild ride it's been. To think I had never even set foot off of Zinkenstill. But now, I can't even count the number of islands we've saved, let alone visited. Sure, being a roving band of heroes is difficult, but it's got its perks. New faces, new places, and a whole airship's worth of fun. Who could pass this life up? Anyway, we've just begun the next chapter of our adventure. We discovered another piece of the sky map, which led us to Zega Grande. Yeah, a whole new skydom. Just imagine the danger, the promise. I knew it was going to be fine. Just another set of memories to add to our ever-growing collection. I hope you're ready, Zega Grande, because here we come.
Skyfarers, we need your aid! Goblins! Goblins in Tempeel!
We were at the dock in Folca, taking care of landing procedures, when a panicked old merchant rushed toward us. In between his wheezing, he explained that a shipment of relief supplies headed for Tempeel had been intercepted by monsters. Tempeel reminded me of Id, and how he had totally beat our butts. It was embarrassing, yeah, but what's worse, it reminded me of losing Lyria.
Tempeel, huh? Maybe this time around I can actually help out.
That wasn't Vern's usual peppy tone. He was probably reliving those bad memories, just like me. I guess after you've spent as much time together as we have, you pretty much share a brain. It wasn't going to be a fun journey to Tempeel for either of us. But we were Skyfarers, and desperate times called for brave faces. Anyway, goblins. Smart. Fast. That meant we wouldn't have the luxury of time. We needed to throw together the minimum amount of supplies needed for the journey and head out. I turned to Vern so we could discuss game plans, but then I saw his ears were droopy.
If we're fighting goblins, then we should have them licked by lunch.
Something was wrong, but with the hasty flight preparations, I couldn't spare the few minutes to investigate. Pull through it, Vern, I thought. We need you. Sometime after our mission in Tempeel, we bumped into the old merchant in Folca.
Well, look who the cat dragged in. Thanks for handling things in Tempeel. You all deserve the best.
Tempeel had been roughed up by Furican's rampage, and all of the locals were busy repairing the damage. The work we did that day had been crucial to those recovery efforts.
Out of curiosity, my young lizard friend, were you much help to your crew?
Uh-oh. He said the L word. I turned to Vern, ready for his usual furious tagline.
Thanks, Pops. You really helped me see the light.
Huh. This was new. The old man threw an apple to Vern, and they exchanged a nod. Then, without explaining this bizarre bond between them that just came out of the blue, he left.
Does anyone else feel like the space-time continuum just broke?
Io was staring, dumbfounded at the small dragon, who was already happily munching away on a tart Granny Smith. Had he matured? Enough to ignore his most hated of hated insults?
Seriously, this is just too much to believe! He called you a lizard and everything! Maybe the ship will be a little quieter from now on, huh?
Hold it! I ain't no lizard! And don't you say that in front of the apple! What if it hears you?
Maybe he'd get there in another adventure or two. I'm gonna go get this report turned in.
Much thanks, Captain. Paperwork is...
Since the crew started helping Id with his job as the new Mr. Fix-It, we'd been really busy. The shop was completely flooded with requests. Those sad days when the Islanders didn't trust Id, they seemed like a lie now.
Lyria, how are you feeling today?
Id asked me that every time we met.
We're all worried about you. How's the lifelink holding up?
Right, our lifelink. Everyone thought it might have weakened. Remind you. Honestly, I had been really scared back then. But now, with the weight of the sky off our shoulders, I felt better than ever. I flashed Vern and Id a smile to let them know I was okay. Talking about the lifelink brought back memories, and I realized Id still knew almost nothing about our adventures. I began by explaining Catalina's daring rescue of me and our escape from the Erste Empire. Then I described the big trees of Zinkenstill and the Imperial Hydra, and the sad reason I needed to make the lifelink with the captain. Eventually, we met Rackham and Io, Rosetta and Eugen, and before we knew it, our ship was full. It's really amazing how much our family has grown. The whole time I'd sat there, in silence, yes, but I could tell he was giving me 110% of his attention.
Since getting to Zega Grande, we've had a heck of a wild ride. But now that things have calmed down, we can get to making some good memories.
Sure.
I think I'm starting to understand Id. Sure, he has two modes, cold and colder. But if you really pay attention, you can see he has a warm enough heart. Id, the captain, the crew, you're the best friends I could ever ask for. Here's to hoping we'll be together forever.
After some exciting paperwork, I returned to find Lyria and Vern taking Id on a walk down memory lane.
You guys have seen some amazing things.
This was coming from someone who survived Lilith's schemes and won a mind battle with a god dragon. We'd all been through a lot.
It's all because the captain looks out for us. Yep, my butt is epic. You saw him save Lyria and this whole freaking skydom?
I turned to look at Vern, open-mouthed. Where was all this coming from?
I'm just trying to be vocal about my appreciation, remember? So yeah, take care of Lyria and keep up the good work.
I could certainly manage that. Just remembered, Sierra got us a whole bag of sweets, as thanks for all our hard work. Lyria and Vern exchanged a glance so charged, I thought the air between them was going to burst into flame.
You should have told us that first. Early dragon gets the grub.
Hey, no fair. Come on, Vern. Wait!
And just like that, they were off. Foodies, right?
Captain, you got a moment?
I turned around, about to ask, "You want some too?" But one look at Id's knitted brow, and the question died on my lips.
Let's duel.
Did I just hear that right? Why, though? Did he have something against cookies?
Sorry. It was the stories about your adventures. They put the thought into my head.
Oh, that's why... No, I still got nothing.
I want to protect Lyria just as much as you do.
He stalked away then, and left me staring after him. I was still having trouble piecing together his train of thought, but one thing was clear. He was doing it for Lyria's sake. The duel was to take place at Halewind Altar. Lots of memories there. It's where we first met Id, where I lost to him, and Lyria was taken from us.
Do you guys really have to do this?
We're friends now, right? Friends don't fight each other.
Lyria and Vern tried to talk me out of it the whole way there, but I just kept thinking of the look in Id's eye. He wasn't going to back down, and I respected that.
Captain.
Id had been staring into the distance, like a statue set to guard the altar. He turned when he heard our footsteps.
Now that we've gotten to know one another, I've come to realize something. There's no one that can keep Lyria safe better than you.
He took deliberate steps towards me, but this was nothing like the first time we met. Before, he'd been terrifying, like a hydra closing in on its prey. But now, there was something softer about the light in his eyes. You could tell he was there to help.
You're the real thing. A hero. You didn't just save Lyria, you saved the skies. And I thought, maybe if we crossed blades again, I'd learn something. Something that would help me be more like you.
Id.
I finally got it. Id and I... There was still a part of us that couldn't tear away from that fateful day at Halewind Altar. When Id had been a bad guy, and I'd been too weak to protect Lyria. But things were different now. And this fight was going to prove it. I'm not losing this time.
I'd be disappointed if you did.
I drew my sword and took the first step forward.
Catch this!
I mean, we already knew this, but it's pretty much unstoppable.
Thank you, Captain.
No. Thank you. I won. I stood, almost doubled over with my hands on my knees, trying to remember how to breathe. Id staggered over and stuck a clenched hand in my face. Yeah, of course he'd go for a fist bump. I tapped his knuckles lightly with mine, and just like that, we were back to being loyal crewmates. That duel had blown away all our regrets. No more looking over our shoulders. It was time to move past well, our past.
Oh, please.
Yes, can I help you?
Hey, heard about your little spat with Id. Wish I still had that kind of energy.
Eugen gave me a hearty slap between the shoulder blades.
The chills I got when watching them. Man, they were going all out.
Of course Vern had told everybody. I could appreciate honesty and openness throughout the crew, but I clearly needed to have a talk with that dragon about minding his own business.
So you're jealous Lyria's making new friends? What, do you have a crush or something?
Yo, don't be silly. That's not what this was about at all.
As Lyria tried to explain the situation, I just kind of sniffed and shuffled my feet. It had been a wild ride, but things were finally back to normal. I couldn't get the duel with Id out of my mind. He had been a perfect storm, placing his whole heart behind every blow. I had to remember what I was fighting for to even stand a chance. To be honest, I still don't think I'm stronger than him. I won this battle, yeah, but both of us are still changing, still growing. Who knows how it'll turn out if there's a next time. But I doubt we'll ever need to fight like that again. Id trusts me now. I can feel that just as much as I felt the shock of his sword clashing against mine. Trust is nice, but it always comes with responsibility. Still, that's the weight I signed up to carry when I became captain of the Grand Cipher, and took Lyria's hand all that time ago.
We really don't get a break.
For sure, it felt like every taking down a monster that can demolish a small village with a sneeze. No biggie. Vern, could you get us some potions?
You betcha! Liquid health coming right up!
Lyria, we're about to head out. Mind letting the rest of the crew know?
Sure, no problem.
I took a deep breath, letting it settle in my chest before releasing. We had a game plan, of course, but you never know how these things will go. Everything had to be perfect.
You'll be fine. I trust you, and so does everyone else.
Id put a hand on my shoulder, and somehow that weight steadied me. We'd figure things out. We always did. I exchanged a nod with him, and we headed for the docks. The rest of the crew was already there, waving their arms in the air. From the smiles on their faces, you'd think we were going for a tropical vacation in a goose day. Well, either way, I was sure we'd all come out of it in one piece. We had a bright future ahead of us.
You think you know the sky and wind, but then you come to a foreign land, where unfamiliar songs on the air beckon you toward the unknown.
Catalina, where do you think this breeze is coming from?
The wind rustled Lyria's hair affectionately as she spoke. From somewhere far, far away. Much time has passed since Lyria and I escaped from the Erste Empire and met the captain in the woods of Zinkenstill. I found myself thankful that the sky has no limit, because no matter how many journeys I've made at her side, there will always be more to look forward to. Lyria and I first crossed paths when I was still a knight of Erste, and she a tool in the Empire's mad experiments on dark essence. So you're Lyria. I was appointed to stay by her side as both captor and guardian. She reminded me of a beautifully crafted puppet, never moving or speaking unless commanded. Her expression was fixed, and her eyes were bright, but cold, as if made of glass. Moved to pity, I wanted at the very least to light a smile on her face. But I may as well have been talking to a doll. I couldn't find the part of her that was alive. It wasn't until many days had escaped us that I realized Lyria was a real girl with a feeling soul. She simply didn't know how to act like one. So, I taught her to laugh when she felt joy and cry when she felt sadness. Through books and reverie, I taught her to long for the outside world, and when colors on a page were no longer enough, I took her hand and led her to the roof of the military base. The illustrations Lyria had seen were lovely, but the sky now stretching above her was boundless and so luminous that it drew forth tears. And finally, her blue eyes shone, as if they were two patches of sky lit by a sun from within her. That sun melted my heart. There, with the open air as our witness, I made her a promise. Someday, we'll sail this endless world together. I swear it. As the bond between us grew, so did the cruelty of the experiments they performed on Lyria. Lyria doesn't belong here. No living creature does. The shining empire I served now became to me a place clouded by doubt. Day after day, a battle raged within me, between the knight loyal to her flag and the guardian who wanted to set a sad girl free. Then, one day, a memory of Lyria's response on the roof broke through like a clear ray of light.
Really? You'll show me this endless world?
I had made a vow. There was no more question where my allegiance lay. I took her hand once again, this time not to simply gaze at the sky, but to leap into it. And I did it for myself as much as I did it for her. Sometime after the commotion at Tempil, life in Folca began to struggle towards normalcy. The breeze was soft and welcoming. I'd been blind to the city's charms before, focused as I was on rescuing Lyria from the Church of Avia. The sun watched over the victims of Furikin's rage as they raised new homes for themselves from the rubble. But once scars have set in, they are slow to fade. Here and there, the children of Tempil labored with tools too large for their hands. I offered my aid, but the children said their work was their responsibility.
As long as you're sure you'll be okay.
Some distance away, a small boy burst into a red-faced fit. Lyria and I rushed over, hoping to be of help.
Don't try and stop me! I have to do this!
He hurled his words like stones as he whipped into a run. Concerned, I asked a nearby man about the boy. He explained that the boy's sister was ill, and the lad was after the remedy, an herb called windcrest. The sickness was assumed to have died out hundreds of years ago, but had now returned to torment the child.
And if that's not enough, I heard the woods where windcrest grows have turned into a monster den.
The boy had struck out alone. Folka had no soldiers to spare, for they were all dispatched to Tempeal for the reconstruction effort. No one was left to answer his pleas, but I would. In my heart, I vowed to bring back the child, and if possible, the herb too. I prayed only that I wasn't too late. Leave the front line to me.
Well, according to that old villager, this is the place we want to be.
Perfect. Keep your eyes peeled for Windcrest. Earth spirits. Strange. We didn't see any the last time we were here.
Seems like they're attracted to the Windcrest. Maybe they can feel its power.
There it is!
Into my trap!
Be more than enough.
But we still haven't located the boy. What? Where is that coming from?
I don't know, but it can't be a good sign. We'd better hurry.
A golem. So that's what was behind the tremors.
Crap, it spotted us. Get ready for a fight.
You're finished!
Oh, look! It's raining!
Is it safe now?
I recognize that voice. With a final death knell, the golem stilled. The boy crawled out from the tall grass, and I pressed the Windcrest into his trembling hand.
Wow! Now I can save my sister! You're the best, lady!
He smiled at me, and with a great burden lifted from his shoulders, skipped the whole way back to Folka. As I watched his happy shuffle, I wished more joy and color into his life of toil, which had been covered by the dust of destruction.
Yeah?
Right.
Yes, can I help you?
We made medicine from the windcrest you picked. The doctor said Hazel looks better every day. This morning, she was able to get out of bed and do some drawing. She loves drawing pictures. Thanks again, Catalina. From Al.
And Hazel.
P.S. Please visit Folka when you have a chance.
Another letter from Al arrived. Hazel had fully recovered, and Al had returned to work on the reconstruction site, and was working twice as hard to make up for lost time.
Is it just me? Or is his writing messier?
It wasn't just Vern. Not only were there more missing words and misspellings than usual, the lines of Al's letters were harsh and tangled. Evidently, he'd scrawled them in a great hurry between jobs.
I got a bad feeling that next up, it's gonna be Al himself stuck in bed.
I shared Vern's sentiment. This was a boy willing to pick herbs from death's very garden for his sister. There was not an ounce of self-restraint in his character. I could only hope that he would emerge from this trial unscathed. Reading Al's third letter made my head buzz and my hands go numb.
Help! Hazel got sick again. Doctor says you don't know what's happened. The medicine we made don't work no more. What do we do?
It struck me that I, a Skyfarer they had only met once, was all the help these children had left to turn to.
Adelina, I'm worried about Hazel.
Lyria, who had been reading over my shoulder, looked as pale as death, and I thought I heard the fierce thudding of her heart. Let's head back to Folka, quickly. We learned not long afterwards that the captain, who at times seemed to command a sixth sense, had already asked Rackham to set course for the city. Al, Hazel, don't lose hope. Help is on the way. When we arrived at Folka, Al came out to greet us. I noticed he wouldn't meet any of our eyes and ducked his head like he was hiding from the world. The doctor had examined Hazel from head to toe, but as far as his eyes could tell, there was nothing wrong with her.
Hazel says all she needs to get better is some Wraith Ring eggs, but I just don't know.
Al's voice was so small, I could hear the distance between us. Not physical, but emotional. He explained reluctantly that the Wraithwing was a bird which lives among the ancient ruins of Dali Island.
Actually, forget it. We've made you guys do too much already. We'll figure something out.
His smile didn't quite reach his eyes, which were enclosed in dark circles. The reconstruction effort must have been hounding him, and he was apparently not its only victim. Hazel had fallen ill around when Al began overexerting himself. I think I see what's going on here. Gently pushing aside Al's objections, we left to search for a Wraithwing nest. The task ahead, though dangerous, was for brother as much as it was for sister. I'll take point. This area seems promising. Be on the lookout for tracks. This is quite a rare find. We'd better add it to our provisions. It may come in useful later. What's this?
sure been roughed up.
Large talon marks and scattered feathers. The culprit is probably a wraithwing.
Let's see if it's left any other tracks. Look! More feathers! I think we're getting warmer!
Catalina! Catalina, over there!
That's it. It matches the description perfectly. That's our wraithwing.
Ah! What's with all the party crashers?
Stay calm. I'll get us out of this.
Let's see what you got!
Now!
We need some badass!
Nice! Now come on! We've got a bird to catch! These stupid monsters don't quit! You ready, Cat?
Always. I'll freeze them in their tracks. Finish this! On guard! I need your power! Get them, Mary!
Look, the bird. It's watching us really closely.
Whoa! Looks like it's got giant talons and a nest! All right! Take that, you big chicken!
Now we just need to search the nest and collect the eggs. I can't help feeling guilty, though.
We're so sorry, Miss Wraithwing. We promise we won't take more than we need.
A fine victory! I took our prize to the dining hall. But weighing on me was the thought that Hazel had likely told Al a white lie. It's said that one bite of a wraithwing egg sends waves of energy coursing through your body. I guess that she wanted the meal not for herself, but for her exhausted brother.
I'm so sorry.
My suspicions were confirmed when I returned from the canteen to find Hazel apologizing to the crew.
Catalina, we need to tell you something.
I cut Al off. I knew speaking the words would hurt him. It was better that he didn't give sound and substance to unnecessary guilt. I don't know what's troubling you, but you have to eat. It's the only way the two of you will get better. Food and comfort. That was all I could afford them.
Yeah? Yes, can I help you?
Back at the dining hall, plates of wraithwing egg omelet were lined up on a table, wafting forth irresistible aroma.
Is that really for us?
At my nod, Al dug in.
Ow! Oh, burnt my tongue. But, so good.
I love it!
Muffled voices caught my attention, and I looked out the window to see a gathering crowd. Though I had only collected a basket of the famed eggs, it seemed that was enough to feed the whole city.
Hey, Al. Heard from your sister. Sorry, I should have noticed you were working yourself to the bone.
A man who seemed to be in charge of reconstruction efforts came to our table. Gently, He explained that he had only now been made aware of Al's failing health. He vowed to encourage the workers to rest, so no one would overexert themselves ever again.
Al, you okay, bud? You don't look so good.
Vern, who had been flitting carefree through the air, came to a sudden stop. I smiled at his concern, which was well-meaning but misplaced. Al was going to be fine now. It was time for a celebration, and I had the perfect surprise planned. Their reactions are going to be priceless. A light dessert is the perfect way to top off a hearty meal. Stealing my way into the kitchen, I cooked up an original dish using spare ingredients and imagination. When I unveiled my creation, the crew gulped in what I assume was anticipation. The people of Folka, however, were more vocal with their excitement.
You're saying that the very hand that defeated the Wraithwing made this dessert?
Is there anything she can't do?
It was enough to make me blush. But, if I may be so bold, I don't think their praise was unearned. My dish was wholly unique in its shape, color, and smell.
Catalina, this is amazing! I've never tasted anything like it before.
Encouraged by Lyria, every last diner snatched up their spoons. Hungrily, they lifted a bite to their lips. And the moment right after, as if someone had captured the scene in a painting, they all froze. There are times when people are so filled to the brim with emotion, not even the smallest physical movement is possible. For the diners, this was apparently one of those times. It seems I'm not such a bad chef after all. Take that, naysayers.
Piloting an airship ain't easy work, but whether it's plotting a windward course or conducting some routine maintenance, you can always count on experience and intuition. Ha! Just a little further! Finally, the Grand Cipher broke through the nebulous shadows and turbulent winds of the Grim Basin, and to greet us on the other end was our reward, the brilliant clear blue. It was a panoramic azure, dappled by silver-white clouds and gleaming from the light of a new day. Always an exhilarating sight to behold. And judging by the cries of celebration starting to spread across the deck, I took it my crewmates would agree. Damn, who'd have ever thought a young dreamer from Port Breeze would make it all the way out to these skies? The Grand Cipher and I, we'd gone through thick and thin together. It's a long story, but it all started on that fateful day I met the captain. I haven't looked back since. Right then, landing maintenance. Fuel stores, full. Engine, all clear. We were ready to disembark into the unknown. What awaited us in the Zega Grande Skydom? As uneasy as I was, I couldn't help but feel a teensy bit giddy with excitement. Ah, the Grand Cipher. Ever since I found her abandoned behind a cliff, it was love at first sight. I was just a kid, but I had lofty dreams of repairing that ramshackle airship and taking her to the skies. Back then, I didn't know the difference between a porthole and port side, but I was determined. I dove into books bigger than my head, and I learned basic airship repair, helmsmanship, the whole kit and caboodle. After a ton of elbow grease, the day had come. The Grand Cipher was finally ready for a test flight. I still remember how my hands trembled as I grabbed the rudder. And wouldn't you know it, she actually lifted off the ground for me. Nothing quite like watching your first love take to the skies, is there? But before I could take it all in, my dreams came crashing down. I mean, literally, the Grand Cipher sunk like a damn meteor. 100 different things could have caused it, but that didn't matter. Years of work went kaput in the blink of an eye. Betrayed by the very skies I longed for, I was crushed. Looking back now, it sounds stupid, I know, but it really felt like I had nothing to live for. I put all my hopes into that hunk of scrap. Laugh if you want, but some pits are too deep to crawl out of, especially when you look up for freedom and all you see is the expansive crystal blue of your tormentor. Don't worry, my pity party wouldn't last for too much longer. You see, my dreams had crashed like a meteor.
But ironically enough, it was the meteoric rise of the Erste Empire that would bring the captain into my life. Salvation was on the horizon. Just as I'd given up on flying, the Erste Empire had arrived in Port Breeze, and they were hell-bent on exploiting our local protector, the primal beast of wind, Tiamat.
Their twisted machinations caused her to go on a rampage. Port Breeze was in peril. Fortunately, we had an ace up our sleeve, Lyria. Thing is, Lyria needed to get close to Tiamat, which meant we had to go up, and to go up, we needed to fly. Thought I'd already closed that chapter of my life when the skies betrayed me, but lives were on the line. Quick, get on the Grand Cipher! I don't know what got into me. She fell once before. Hell, I knew she might fall again. Nothing like a healthy fear of death to keep you grounded, eh? But the people of Port Breeze and my new crewmates had entrusted their fates to my piloting skills. My own fear was insignificant. All I needed to do was trust myself too. It's a damn shame it took me this long. But I'm back now, and ready to face the skies if you'll have me. As the Grand Cipher's engine purred to life, I knew I would no longer be encumbered by fear. I gripped the mast with pride as I set our course directly above to the rampaging Tiamat. Lyria quelled the primal beast, and catastrophe had been averted. Not to mention, I could finally dream again. Ever since that day, I've been the helmsman for the Grand Cipher and its crew. And it's been one hell of a ride. I've since formed a pact with good old Tiamat and made amends with the shipwright primal who built the Grand Cipher, Noah. So, Zega Grande Skydom might be uncharted territory, but my role remains the same. See our crew arrive safely, no matter the destination. And that includes Estalucia. Some folks might call reaching the end of the skies an impossible dream, but I ain't too worried. With the Grand Cipher as our wings, anything's possible. Call it a side effect of being a helmsman, but my ears tend to laser in on any talk of airships. Then again, damn near anybody could have heard this guy shouting.
No! No! You can't do this! She's still Sky will fly!
The distraught man was making a piece together the man's story. He was an engineer, was upset that an airship called the Nautilus was set to be decommissioned. His 3 friends, meanwhile, were telling him to see reason that an old ship like that would be more useful as scrap. Reminded me of the Port Breeze days, back when my own dreams seemed like unscalable walls.